Have you ever wanted to take a day trip to a small Pennsylvania town or hike through the beautiful Appalachian Mountains, but don't want to deal with the traffic, high gas prices, and windy mountain roads? The Center County Highway Revolt is a citizen-led initiative trying to save farms and forests, combat climate change, and boost small-town economies by building a rail transit network across the state. The plan calls for connections to existing Amtrak trains. Learn more at centercountyhighwayrevolt.org. It's the Friday News Roundup. We're breaking down who you'll see on your ballot next week, and the 3 ballot questions on homelessness, city prisons, and affordable housing. Plus, Philly remembers the 1985 MOVE bombing 40 years later. And we just got a new way to get from Center City to Grays Ferry. It's Friday, May 16th. I'm Trinae Nuri, and here's what Philly's talking about. Joining me this week at the Filler Club is CityCast Philly executive producer Matt Katz. Hey, Matt.
Hey, Trinae, go Birds.
Go Birds. The schedule was released this week. We'll talk about that later in the show. Big news next week. Philly voters will step into the booth to vote in the primary election.
Yes, finally happening. The marquee race, of course, is for district attorney. Larry Krasner, incumbent district attorney, facing a challenge from Pat Dugan, former judge. And this is the Democratic primary that's going to really decide its election because there's no Republicans running. So whoever wins on Tuesday will be the only person on the ballot come November. And the most interesting news on this race that dropped this week to me was a story in the Inquirer looking at the fundraising. And it is the challenger, Pat Dugan, who has raised more money by like a 2-to-1 margin than Krasner, who's been in office for 2 terms. And I've noticed like more Pat Dugan signs. Have you noticed that?
I see signs along Henry Avenue.
Yep. I've seen them on Columbus, down in South Philly. I have not seen a Krasner sign. Have you seen any Krasner signs?
No, but Krasner has that name recognition.
He does.
Like the whole city knows him.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, you know, Dugan's trying to eat into that. There's an anti-Krasner TV ad from a PAC that's supporting Dugan that's out there. Other than that, the race is somewhat low profile in that it's not like, you know, the November elections when our airwaves were just filled with, you know, political ads. So we shouldn't be complaining because that was totally exhausting. The other interesting bit about this fundraising is Krasner has more national donors, which makes sense since he's a national figure due to his progressive stance that's become a model for progressive prosecutors around the country. Generally opposes bail and jail for low-level crimes. He's also exonerated people who were convicted of murder many years ago who, as a result of prosecutorial malfeasance or police misconduct. So that's made him something of a national figure. So it makes sense that he'd be getting more money from national donors. Dugan has more suburban donors, maybe due to his argument that Philadelphians don't feel safe, which is an argument that might resonate with suburban folks who
work in the city, travel in and out.
Yep. Come to the city, maybe
go to events.
Yep. Yeah. But don't feel necessarily comfortable living here and live in the burbs as a result, maybe in part because of safety. Dugan is also doing well in Northeast Philly, probably the most conservative section of the city. Krasner doing well on the fundraising front in Northwest, more liberal part of the city. So I think the fundraising numbers are interesting because, at least when it comes to the local donors, that might be reflective of what the election map looks like on election day. Prognosticators, people who watch this stuff still say Krasner has the advantage here because of what you said, the name recognition. But, you know, we'll be up late watching the results, and we'll have a show early Wednesday morning catching you up on what happened.
Yes, late night. Also, we got to add that this tends to be the lower voter turnout type of, you know, election.
Yep.
Another part of this year's primary is folks will be voting for judges. I've always been curious, like, why we vote for judges in Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
But Matt Olish, who is the chair of the Philadelphia Bar Association's campaign for qualified judges, spoke with me on the show this week and broke it all down. He said, basically, while federal judges are appointed by the president, Pennsylvania is one of a handful of states that actually nominates judges.
Yeah, we nominate judges in these party primaries. This is required in the Pennsylvania Constitution. It is somewhat unusual in the country. The result of this is there's ends up being a lot of judges on the ballot, and it's hard for the average voter, or for any voter really, to decipher who these people are and how they're supposed to judge the judges, right? So that's why you had Matt Olish on this week to try to figure out how we can do that. And his method of doing this is they have this Philadelphia Bar Association vetting committee, essentially, and they have criteria for recommending judges for election. So they go through these candidates and they look at experience, legal ability, integrity, their judgment, their fiscal responsibility, and then they issue recommendations on the candidate. In some circumstances, everybody who's running could be recommended. In other circumstances, they might recommend fewer people than there are openings. So then, that's also becomes a bit of a challenge for voters. Bottom line, 4 courts that you're judging on, some have more candidates than there are open seats, and some have more open seats than there are candidates in your party primary. And you want to look at the Philadelphia Bar Association's recommendations because, for example, in the Court of Common Pleas, they recommended all candidates except for one. For municipal court, they only recommended one candidate. And there's one other thing people should know. There is a candidate on the ballot who, if you vote for him, it won't count because Mike Huff was deemed ineligible to serve on either municipal court or the Court of Common Pleas because he doesn't have residency legally established in the city. So any votes for him for either of those positions will not count.
Similar to what I was saying before about how it's a low voter turnout, ballot position matters in this particular election when you really don't know how, like you said, you don't know how to judge the judges.
Yeah.
So people are just I'll pick based off your position on the ballot.
And that's totally random how you get the ballot position. It's literally in a coffee can.
Pick a name out of a can.
God bless America.
God. All right. Also on the ballot are 3 questions dealing with homelessness, city prisons, and affordable housing.
Yes. So these are all to change the city charter, asking voters to approve basically these policy ideas, right? So the first question asks whether we should create an ombudsperson for the Office of Homeless Services. So this is somebody who would monitor how the city's doing when it comes to addressing homelessness. And there have been allegations of the misuse of funds by the city's Office of Homeless Services. So this could theoretically be a check on that. There's more than 5,000 people in the city who are experiencing homelessness. So the idea is to have more eyes looking at how we're addressing this important issue. It will cost $500,000. That's the estimate for how much creating this position would cost. I do feel like I'm seeing more unhoused people in more neighborhoods. It seems, and this is only my anecdotal experience, just kind of more spread out in the city than maybe it had been in years past. And there has been an increase in homelessness, according to the folks who count these things. So this is something that I'm sure will be front of mind for some voters once they see this ballot question. The second question calls for increasing the amount of money for affordable housing from something called the Housing Trust Fund. This is a little bit wonky, but basically developers can make a payment if they want to increase the density of their housing projects, and they're not allowed to by zoning code. They can make a payment, and these payments are supposed to go to affordable housing, but they don't always do that. So this would make sure that developer payments would go to this housing trust fund for affordable housing. And the Parker administration opposes this. They want folks to vote no because they say they need flexibility in how to spend the money. They don't want something just automatically allocated to a specific thing. So this kind of takes a little power out of the mayor in terms of determining how to spend money. Okay, we got one more.
One more, okay. I'm exhausted.
People are going to be falling asleep in the voting booth as they read these wonky-ass policy questions.
No, maybe, you know what people should do?
What?
Listen to CityCast Philly as they're walking to the booth.
Yeah, that's right. The third question, as you're walking into your voting booth, asks whether you want to create a Philadelphia Prison Community Oversight Board and an Office of Prison Oversight. This is similar to the ombudsperson idea for the Office of Homeless Services. There have been so many problems in our crowded, understaffed, dangerous jails, and this would create independent watchdogs to meet with jail staff and incarcerated individuals in order to find out what's really happening in the jails and propose policy solutions and report to city council about what they're seeing. So this is a check on that. Again, there would be a cost involved with this to some degree, although I haven't seen any numbers connected to this.
We've got more news after the break. Hey, while you're making the perfect itinerary for summer, add the Williamstown Theater Festival to your list. From July 17th to August 3rd in the Berkshire Mountains in northwestern Massachusetts, over 130 artists will take stage for nearly 100 performances. Go to WTFfestival.org, choose a weekend, and buy a pass. Weekend passes get you into 8 shows, including a world premiere by Jeremy O. Harris, Pamela Anderson, and Nicholas Alexander Chavez for a new adaptation of Tennessee Williams' Camino Real. Discounted hotel rooms are available through June 1st. Go to WTFfestival.org and make your plans to immerse yourself in theater this summer.
Hi, I'm David Plotz, the CEO of CityCast. We've all set health goals: lose weight, exercise more, eat better. But without a plan, those goals often fade. That may have happened to you. It has definitely happened to me. And that's where Prolon comes in. Prolon's 5-day fasting mimicking diet gives you a science-backed, structured approach to stay on track and see real results. And now Prolon is upping their game with the new Next Gen 5-day program, delivering the same science-backed benefits in a cleaner, more convenient, and more flavorful format. Prolon is a plant-based nutrition program featuring soups, snacks, and beverages designed to nourish the body while keeping it in a fasting state, triggering cellular rejuvenation and renewal. Next Gen builds on the original Prolon with 100% organic soups and teas, a richer taste, and ready-to-eat meals. Developed over decades at USC's Longevity Institute and backed by top U.S. medical centers, Prolon has been shown to support biological age reduction, metabolic health, skin appearance, fat loss, and energy. I've been doing the 5-day program, and I feel so much better. I really enjoy the tasty energy bars, the snacks and soups, and the fact that I can enjoy meals, even though the calorie count is super low. The flavors and textures are excellent. An olive oil snack here, broccoli and quinoa soup there, hibiscus tea, a yummy nut bar. It's got the benefits of a 5-day fast, but doesn't have the challenge of doing it with pure liquids. It's a system reset. And also, I know this sounds funny, but it's not. The packaging and directions are fantastic, clear, and well organized and thoughtful. For a limited time, you can be first in line to experience the new Next Gen at special savings. Prolon is offering CityCast listeners 15% off site-wide, plus a $40 bonus gift when you subscribe to their 5-day program. Just visit prolonlife.com/city. That's PROLONLIFE.com/city to claim your 15% discount and your bonus gift. prolonlife.com/city.
This week was the 40th anniversary of the Move bombing, the first and only time in U.S. history when a city bombed its own citizens. I spoke with Lynn Washington Jr. He's the host of a new podcast series from Temple University's Klein College's Logan Center for Urban Investigative Reporting and the Philadelphia Inquirer. It's called Move, Untangling the Tragedy. He and Yvonne Laddie, the executive producer of this podcast, they talked to me about this enormous reporting project. For me, growing up in and near the city, I always heard stories about this event. I always heard, I did watch some documentaries as a young adult going to school at Temple. And I had a one-sided viewpoint, of like what the story is.
Sure.
But this podcast was just so decent to me because the archival sounds that they got, the interviews from reporters who actually taught me at Temple University. So many of our neighbors and our city leaders still remember the feelings the sights, the sounds, the memories have not left them.
Oh, absolutely not. Yeah, the trauma lingers for people who witnessed this, for reporters, for neighbors, for
the families
of the members of this organization. And this podcast also really just presented a nuanced history of MOVE, which I never fully appreciated. And now I have a sense of how this reached such a boiling point to the extent that it ended in such tragedy. Really remarkable podcast. You did a amazing interview with the creators of it. In 2020, the city had formally apologized for the bombing. There is a marker at the site, but now we have an official day to recall what happened.
City Council member Jamie Gauthier, who represents the 3rd District, introduced a resolution this month declaring May 13th, 2025, which is the 40th anniversary of the MOVE bombing, as a day of reflection and remembrance.
We need to fully reckon with what happened that day, and we need to understand it and remember it so that we do not ever repeat it. The story about the MOVE bombing is still being written. It is up to us to decide its ending. If we take the easy way out and let this tragedy fade from memory, we doom ourselves to a future where those who come after us repeat the mistakes Philly's leaders made 40 years ago. Instead, we must keep the infamy of the MOVE bombing alive and fight for reconciliation and justice so that none of our constituents hear the whistle of a bomb being dropped on their home ever again. That's why
Mike Africa Jr., he's the great nephew of MOVE founder John Africa. He told the Philadelphia Tribune that he doesn't believe Philadelphia has learned anything from what has been described by locals as its darkest day of the 20th century. And just to move the story forward a bit, because it has so many layers, Africa now owns the row home that sits on 6221 Osage Avenue, which was where the bomb was dropped. And he is currently fundraising to create a memorial at the site, not just a marker, but a memorial for those that were lost.
11 people, including
5 children.
Yep.
All right, we've got more news after this break.
This episode of CityCast is sponsored by Babbel. Learning a new language opens the door to new friends, new cultures, maybe even a whole new life. So why not start the journey today with Babbel? You can start speaking a new language with confidence thanks to Babbel's conversation-based technique. It quickly teaches you useful words and phrases about the things you actually talk about in the real world. There are more than a dozen languages available for you to learn at your own pace, with material tailored to your individual proficiency level, interests, and time availability. I'm David Plotz, CEO of CityCast, and I've been learning Spanish with Babbel and brushing up a teeny bit on my French. But there's also Turkish, Swedish, Dutch, German, many more languages. Babbel's tips and tools for learning a new language are approachable and accessible. It's like having a private tutor in your pocket. I particularly love Babbel's guided conversations, which let me practice real-world conversations. What to say at the doctor's office, how to leave a party, using speech recognition to make sure I'm getting the pronunciation right. Babbel's mobile app and website have real-time feedback, progress trackers, and clear visualizations. They're helping me improve my Spanish in only 10 minutes a day. So get talking with Babbel. I want you to learn another language, so I'm teaming up with Babbel to gift you 55% off subscriptions, but only for CityCast listeners at babbel.com/CityCast. Get up to 55% off at babbel.com/CityCast. Spelled BABBEL.com/CityCast. Babbel.com/CityCast. Rules and restrictions may apply.
ChatGPT Plus is free for college students through May. Here's the thing. You've got a lot to do between now and then. Studying for finals, writing papers, trying to keep your life on track. And ChatGPT can help with all of it. It can quiz you for your econ exam, make a study guide from your French notes, plan out your meals and study breaks. It can get really specific on how you like to learn. It can even help you come up with ways to stop procrastinating. So from now until summer break, take advantage of all the ways ChatGPT can make your life easier. Restrictions apply.
Finally. I'm so dramatic, but you'll understand why.
Yeah.
This has been the long-awaited extension of the Schuylkill River Trail that connects Center City to South Philly. It will finally be open this Saturday. I'm so excited because those of you who know me, you know that I love to walk these days. And I love this trail. But for a long time, me and my fellow walkers and runners and people on bikes, we had to stop at this gate. And it was like so awkward. It's like, oh, well, that's it, which was like near Christian Street. But now we can safely continue along the trail and get to South Philly.
Yeah. Have you been to this southern part of the trail, the Grays Ferry Crescent, that they're now connecting to the main part of the trail?
Not yet.
Because I've been,
You've been on the other side.
Yeah.
Okay.
During the pandemic, I would go take the streets and maybe some trespassing and get to that trail, which was open. It was just like entirely inaccessible for anybody like coming any normal way. So now this amazing pedestrian bridge is going to connect these two paths. And that southern part is so cool.
It's like smooth, right?
Yeah.
Oh my
God. And
God.
it's also like kind of gritty in terms of there's some industrial stuff around it, but you also have the river and there's trees. So it's got a little bit of everything. It's a really kind of a different from the other section. And also that the trail, as you know, gets pretty crowded. So it's going to be really nice that things are going to get spread out a bit. I think it's wonderful. It's amazing.
So there's going to be these two towers on the bridge. And from videos that I've seen online, they light up at night.
Whoa.
I hope the rain holds off this weekend because the rain has just been ridiculous. But I'm excited to check it out. The 2025 Eagles schedule was released this week. The Birds are taking on Dallas Cowboys in week 1, September 4th. But for the first time in 6 years, we're kicking off the regular season at home at the Link. Can you tell I'm excited?
And we got the Chiefs week 2. A little Super Bowl rematch. Did you see how the Eagles officially announced the schedule release this week? This is so good. It says Eagles Entertainment presents. And then it goes, in association with the Philadelphia Orchestra. And there's a slow reveal of the Vince Lombardi Super Bowl trophy. So great.
I still think about that Super Bowl win.
Oh, yeah. Do you ever like suddenly think about it? Like you're having a shitty day and then all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, we won the Super Bowl.
We won the Super Bowl. Matt, what are you doing this weekend?
You know, the Italian Market Festival is happening. Italian
Ah,
Market Festival is crazy. So many people.
I've seen videos.
I mean, if you go, it's both days this weekend. Anybody who goes, you're going to want to take public transportation or bike over there. It's jammed, but it is an experience. Music, food, vendors. There's the John Marzoni half-ball tournament. You know what half-ball is, Trinae?
No.
It's 3-on-3 baseball-ish. They play with a broomstick and a half of a wiffle ball, literally a wiffle ball cut in half. And they play this game in the schoolyard of Christopher Columbus Charter School. So there's going to be a half-ball tournament in the schoolyard. You basically have to like hit the half of the ball and off of the school. And if you hit it like higher up on the school building, then it's, a double or whatever.
Wow.
There's also the...
Philly's such a sports town.
And they'll turn anything into a sport.
Yeah,
Even a
right.
half a wiffle ball in a parking lot. Over at 9th and Montrose, speaking of extremely Philly thing, is the grease pole climbing competition, where competitors climb a pole greased with lard, 30 feet high, in order to win prizes of meats, cheeses, gifts, and money. And then on Sunday is the Procession of Saints with statues of saints, not actual saints. And that starts at St. Mary Magdalene de Pazzi Church at 7th and Montrose. There is a blessing of the market at 9th and Washington. And then the procession heads over to St. Paul Catholic Church at 9th and Christian.
Wow. Are you going to be on that pole?
It's so funny because that question... anywhere else in America has a totally different connotation. But in Philly, it means something different. And the answer to either of those questions is no. And I'm not going to ask you.
I'm not. I'm going to be over in Fishtown on Sunday. I'm playing pickleball.
What?
Yes. Court 16 is a new indoor tennis and pickleball club.
Yeah.
They have free events. They've been having these free events in May. I just found out. They have beginner and advanced player classes, group, private, semi-private, plus programming for kids. 14,000 square feet of indoor courts.
Amazing. Have you ever played pickleball?
Yes, once.
Oh.
And we did an episode about it.
Cool.
So
Yeah.
listen to that.
Right.
But I haven't played since. Even though I've got rackets
Oh, that's
in
so
the
fun.
closet. And
So
I've got tennis rackets in
Is
the
it
closet.
free?
Mhm.
Wow.
I think there is a wait list now, but check them out and see if you can sign up. Me and the kids are going.
Cool. Court16.com/Fishtown.
And if you need more things to do this weekend, check out the Hey Philly newsletter.
Yeah, this might be the busiest time of the year in Philly. There's so much going on, and our newsletter editor, Siani Colon, is wading through all of those things and bringing you the best and most interesting things to do in the city. So you can subscribe. There's a link in the show notes.
The list is long for Saturday.
Yep.
All right, Matt Katz, thank you for joining me on CityCast Philly today.
I had no choice, Trinae. I
You
work
did
here. But it's been a pleasure regardless.
That's all for today here on CityCast Philly. Our executive producer is Matt Katz. Our producer is Abby Fritz. Our Hey Philly newsletter editor is Siani Colon. And our host is me, Trinae Nuri. Music is by Philly's own Interminable, with additional music from all the kimonos. If you enjoyed this show and this week's lineup, share with a friend. Rate the show, leave us a review, and subscribe to our morning newsletter, Hey Philly. We'll be back Monday morning with more news from around the city. Have a great weekend and be safe, y'all. Bye.